Dave Chappelle just put out a short video. Supposedly, he said it's the first comedic event.
We said first concert.
First concert, right.
But there's been other stuff, but I think this kind of venue out, I don't know. I don't know if it's the first, but he said it was, and it's the first time he's been on stage in I think it was like 3 months or something like that.
Right.
Like 80 days or something.
Interesting situation, though, the way they had it set up, and outdoors, the chairs were all,
I'm assuming it's Ohio where he lives.
Yeah, it was, right.
Yeah.
Yep, because he talks about some events and tragedies that happened there in Ohio.
Yeah, and he's a big fan of that little area he lives in. It's in the middle of nowhere, away from all the people, all the fans.
Yeah, right. I would just say, before we get into the content, he's put on some weight.
I noticed he had a little belly because he bulked up last few years. He was like a fucking roided out, it looks like. I don't know. But like he was a skinny dude and his arms all big. But he's also getting older. But I saw a little gut. Yeah,
I seen that too. Little chubby cheeks, but
I don't have that, so I can't respect it.
So so the people that maybe haven't seen the video, check it out first of all. And
if you're not watching it, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's Dave motherfucking Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. How important is Dave Chappelle to you, Jay?
Dave Chappelle, I told you earlier, Dave Chappelle could say, Jay, jump off a cliff, you're a dumb white guy. Like, all right, you need a hand job before I jump? Because Dave Chappelle is probably a few notches above Joe Rogan in my book and he talked about it, like I've been waiting for Dave Chappelle to say something. And he addressed that. I was like, man, I want to hear, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, mainly Dave Chappelle, because he has such profound views. He lives in a predominantly white area. He talked about when Trump got elected, standing in line and hearing some of the conversations. And he just has a good, I think, key balance between both sides of the situation. And I woke up this morning, was a little late to work, about 10, 15 minutes, because I was like, I got to watch this. Turn my alarms off and just had to watch it because I've been waiting. And he said, people want to hear a comedian talk, and he didn't know why, but he's like, because you trust me, and all the outlets and systems we have lie to you. That's why it means a lot to me to hear from Dave Chappelle.
Absolutely. And he says it right in that speech is, I tell the truth. I don't care if it hurts you. I'm going to tell the truth. And I think that's where he gets a lot of his respect from.
That's comedy. George Carlin, Joe Rogan, like a lot of these guys, honest, ugly truth. Mm-hmm. The truth is ugly a lot of the times. And comedians get away with it because, I'm making a joke. But, go back to the history. Bill Hicks, talking about psychedelics in the 80s, early 90s. Man, comedians have always kept it real. Go back to, I'm forgetting his name, but some of the original comedians, Don Rickles, but like... I'm blanking on the original comedian who was hardcore, but man, comics have always been fucking getting arrested, kicked out of clubs, doing what they have to do.
Well, I think that's primarily why people love them so much, because they're so real, and because you can go through a situation like what we're going through now, and there's trauma involved, and some people just have deeper feelings than others. But when you get together in a comedy setting, it's like you can just unleash, even if it's about something pressing or hot button issue. They make it funny and they make you laugh, and it brings you out of that zone, that funk that you've been in, right?
Well, and they give their own personal spin on it, which we're all different, right? And they give their own spin on it. Dave Chappelle definitely did that, talking about the celebrity. Basically, if you haven't watched it, we're going to spoil it. Just spoiler alert. Mm-hmm. But he talked about, people are saying, where are the celebrities, Don Lemon? Where are the celebrities? And he says, say my name. I hope you do, motherfucker. And he's like, you want me to get out there and speak as a celebrity in front of all these people? All these people in the street? You want me to jump in front of them like, this is what I think, Right. And I'm glad he said that, because I think the same way.
Too. No, I totally agree. And I think the way he pushed it was, they're handling their business. The people in the street, they're the ones struggling. What's a celebrity know about, being in the situation right now? And this is their movement, and it has power. And us as celebrities, we should let them have their voice and be heard, right? Did I get that out?
Yeah, and I often think about like Snoop Dogg, for example. Love Snoop Dogg. What a personality, whether his track record or you think he ratted on Suge or whatever. Like, Snoop, I love you. You're the shit. And he's always just being himself. And
D-O-double-G.
You won't come on our podcast, Snoop Dogg. You won't do it.
Let me see.
We're too little for you. You're too in your mansion. But, like Snoop, I think like he's been rich way longer than he's been poor.
Right.
Oh, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, it is.
So how does that affect your opinions? He seems like he stays in the loop, but like damn, that's kind of crazy when you think that someone has been poor till about 17, 18, whenever he hit it big, and then
been rich ever since.
Damn, he's how old? 50s or something?
Yeah, well, no lie, and I think that's where Dave Chappelle's coming from. Is this is not our movement? This is not a celebrity movement. Who the fuck cares what celebrities think? These are the people on the ground, the people that are being, serving injustices to, and these people. This is their movement. They're doing a damn good job of it, and I'm totally glad he said that too, man.
Well, and I don't know if he was insinuating this, but he talked about getting pulled over by that cop in Ohio, Beaver Creek or where the fuck kind of like that, generic oaky name it had. But he was like, the cop let me go with a warning, pulled me over, and the day later he shot a kid, and Dave Chappelle being rich and famous and well known, maybe that's why he got a warning. I don't know if that's what he was insinuating, but I believe it was.
Yeah, maybe. And you know what? I mean, It makes me think, especially that you brought up Snoop Dogg. Do you remember, I don't even remember what year this was, but it was Snoop Dogg and The Game. There was a lot of Norteño, Sureño, or Blood and Crip stuff going on, and they came together and called a truce.
And united them,
right. And
how'd that work out?
Yeah, right, exactly. And it didn't do much, but it was interesting to watch that. And I think a lot of people fell for it. And I say fell for it because there's a lot of stunts going on right now, I think. I think it was the Senate, or, I don't even know who it was, but I saw this picture of, people in this big office, and they had, these kind of striped veils on, and they're kneeling. Kind of to show solidarity, but I think a lot of it is, just for play. It's just for airtime. It's you know what I mean?
It's the same old bullshit.
Right.
And that's why we want to hear Dave Chappelle talk.
Well, exactly. And you know what?
He's got fuck you money.
So, it starts with the intro, right? It says that shows the setup of the comedy show. And then, Dave Chappelle comes on and he starts talking about the BLM movement and George Floyd. And I eventually thought he was going to get into a comedic kind of, what would you call that, JM?
His routine, his right. Jokes, working some of the jokes. He hasn't been up in 80 days or whatever it was, a few months. So for a comic, that's crazy. So they like to stay, like training for gymnastics and not training for 3 months. You're going to be rusty, or jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, anything. You got to use it or you lose it. So it's, I think for him, he had a book of jokes, but
couldn't even get to it.
Who knows what his goal was? I have a feeling Dave Chappelle is the type of guy that goes, let's get up there and see what happens. And from the stories you hear from Kevin Hart, Joe Rogan, stuff like that, he's that type of guy.
Oh, yeah, right. And you can tell, man, just by listening to what he's saying and watching him say it, he's speaking from the heart. And he's not speaking from some script that he wrote down or some script that his secretary wrote down. He's speaking from the heart. And everything that he's saying is stuff that he knows, by reading and consuming material that, what he believes in. So it's not something it's not a PR stunt. It's not him, getting paid money to do something. It's him going and telling how he feels. And I got to say, I wonder how the audience felt. I wonder if they were going in thinking they're going to see a comic, show or a comedy show, and they get this, and probably some were like, yeah, right on. But I wonder if some were like, come on, where's the jokes?
I would doubt it because if you follow Dave Chappelle, he's profound. He gets into, especially his interviews, just not even talk about his comedy, but his interviews, he talks about this stuff. I mean, his Netflix special, he did dive into transsexuals and talk using the word tranny and but you made it very funny. It's so easy to make fun of you motherfuckers. I'm on your side, but they don't like me. He addresses the issue, and that's what comics are supposed to be, fearless.
Okay, yeah, I get that, and which is kind of why I wanted to see. And actually, we also invited Lance Woods. Lance Woods, if you're watching this, you need to be here because I do want to get a comic's take on, not that what's going on in the world right now as far as the protests and the BLM movement and the injustices is something to laugh about, but can we take something like this and make people laugh with it? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because I know it's not something to be laughing about. It's not a funny matter. But where on the comic spectrum can you input comedy or something to smile or laugh about in this kind of grand scheme of what's going on in the world.
Well, to quote the famous Norm Macdonald, a legend in the comedy field, just like Dave Chappelle. If you don't know who he is, check him out. Dirty Work. I don't know if you remember him. He's been in a bunch of movies. A movie with Dave Chappelle too back in the day. But he always says like he was commenting on Bill Maher that has the kind of left show. I don't know if Bill Maher. He also did the documentary Religiousless. Bill Maher, shout out to him. He's great. But he has this kind of political show, and Norm Macdonald said he forgot the number one rule: keep it funny. Or comedians, keep it funny. That's why people are here to see you. And I think Dave Chappelle sprinkled some comedy in there, but
right.
Dave Chappelle's beyond that. Dave Chappelle, in my view, I know I'm more of a comedy fan than basketball, but he's beyond Michael Jordan. Now that's a statement. I probably should retract that. But it's he's beyond. So Dave Chappelle could get away without making people laugh. I think a lot of comedians have done that in the past. When they get older, I think Richard Pryor was like that. Some other people, I think George Carlin might have went down that road where it just becomes like a bitch thing. But nah, man, I was cool with it.
Dude, I was totally cool with it too. And from what I've seen, I actually didn't even know the video surfaced until you sent it to me. And then right when I watched it, I'm on my way over here to record this podcast, and I'm looking through my social media feed, and people are sharing this in their stories. A lot of people are watching it, and I think everybody's going to have that same feeling. And after I watched that, I think what I got out of it, and tell me what you got out of it, I got out of it was, why the fuck is it so hard to understand that what's going on is wrong? Why is it so hard to see that when police officers kill black men, especially young black men that, do not deserve to die, that's a systematic problem. And he talks about other things that lead into that and some statistics and things like that. But he keeps going back to like, why is it so hard for you to see that this is a problem,
Well, and it's interesting because back when the Chappelle show was on and they had the KKK episode where it was the, I forget his name, right. Biggums or whatever, but that might be the wrong character, but he was the black KKK member who was blind, so I didn't know he was black.
Right.
So they always kept his mask on. Great episode. But
awesome.
He got a lot of shit during the making of the season of black people saying, you're racist, what the hell, you're promoting this, and it's funny to fast forward to this. It's like, bitch, chill the fuck out, everybody.
Right.
But it was important that he addressed this, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your original question.
Well, just what did you get out of it? I mean, what was your kind of takeaway?
Well, you made a comment on one of the jokes or the systematic, how people don't get it. Like he's like, how cops sent 400 cops to kill that dude. By the way, I'm glad he brought that up because I forgot about that dude.
Yeah,
and
Chris Donner.
Shout out to Tyler Williams, who was in the band Instant Gratification, did a song about that guy promoting him called Cops Killing Cops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude, we were glued to the TV when that happened. It was, it's funny they don't mention it. And I think it's for a reason because you're like, oh, one man could do that?
Right.
Ooh. But I love that he talked about the military aspect of it because fighting terror, even here on domestic land, as a military man, that's what you do. So, and I'm not a military man, but that's what I assume they do. But I'm glad he brought that up because during the Def Jam Awards, they had him on there with, I forget who it was, but they had something messed up, so they kind of had a bullshit and ad lib. And Dave Chappelle's great at that. He's crowd work, baby. But he just started going off. But he said one line in there, it was all mainly black people in that crowd, but he was like, if you really told them, speaking of white people, do you think they're going to believe us? And I remember that resonated with me. It's like, oh man, it's almost like a waste of breath now.
Right.
And I'm glad he brought that up. But
yeah, me too. I was too, because I didn't forget about it, but it's not something I think about a lot. And I remember watching that, and I really didn't even know the whole story from the start. I mean, it took me a while to figure out what the hell was going on and who this guy was and why he was doing it. But Dave Chappelle just laid it out in 2 minutes, basically the story, right? I mean, former military guy, became a police officer, tried to report some wrongdoings and abuse as a police officer, went to his higher ups, got denied, and then he eventually got fired or quit from the police department.
Yeah, he got let go.
Got let go. And then, basically he was trained to fight terrorists, and that's what he thought the police department was at that time, because they were portraying themselves as terrorists. And so then he went on a killing spree, killing officers. And then, he says this, and this is what the most powerful part was for me. is he says, yeah, you know why 400 fucking police officers showed up to kill this motherfucker?
Exactly.
It's because that guy killed one of their own. And so how do you think we feel?
Exactly.
And that, dude, that says it all right there, man.
That's why there's protests and stuff. And how could they not understand that? It's kind of, but
Right.
yeah, it's, you know, different sidebar. But you know what I really took out of that stand-up special is, which I've been saying for fucking years, and I feel comfortable as a white man saying it. White women, shut the fuck up. I love my white women, but you guys sell us out like all the time. Like fucking, I have been called racist by only white women. For I don't even know what reason, because I asked for the wrong pack of cigarettes. Who knows? But like in San Francisco, I had white women with dyed blue hair. For some reason, they always have blue hair because they're unique and special and different. But every bar in San Francisco has one or two girls with blue hair in it. And they would always say, you're racist, you're racist. I'm like having conversations with black people about race, trying to learn. And that's never come up. Maybe they bit their tongue or just assumed I was. But white women, dude.
Oh, man.
You got on both sides. You got the Karens.
The Karens, that's right.
You got the blue-haired bitches.
Well, like, what would you call those, I guess? Huh? We'll call them Mollies.
I was thinking about this the other day, like, yeah, creating a name like Bernice or something. I don't know. Like some type of, like, left name.
But you're right. It's on both sides. You got the Karen, you got those. That's
They're always the loudest.
Yeah, interesting.
And I always found it funny that white women were like, you know, well, women have an oppression, obviously. But it's weird when women identify with minorities. To me, it feels weird because it's like Patrice O'Neal had a great bit on this. Shout out, speaking of comedy, Patrice O'Neal. The levels of who could get away with shit. And white males are at the bottom. They can't say shit, you know, and he would laugh about it. Legend, by the way, Patrice O'Neal. But rest in peace. But he talked about this, and it's like you got... yeah, Patrice O'Neal talked about it, and like I think it's important because I felt always weird that white women kind of fell under the white umbrella, obviously, although they had their own struggles, but they were brought up with the white men culture. Mm-hmm. They were lifted, although not to the standards they want, but past minorities, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yet when shit hit the fan, fuck the white straight males. It's like, yo, bitches, you're going to do that right now? Just so we'll remember that. So I love that Dave Chappelle said, white women, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he totally did. And you know what I think he was talking about specifically? I forget her name, but that fucking dumb
Lauren, I forget, but yeah, she's one of the typical cute. I followed her for a long time and liked her, and you know, it's like Candace Owens. I'm like, I hear it, but I'm not listening. But I just want to know what you're saying. Candace Owens crazy too. I love that you addressed her. I don't know if you're familiar with Candace Owens.
No.
She's an African American. She's a black conservative who's pro-Trump and always, creating headlines. And she said George Floyd's a criminal. Like, I mean, if you watch the special, so you know.
Right.
But Lauren, and there's another girl. But I like some of the work they did. They did something on South Africa about white people being murdered by the political group, that's in charge for the land that was apparently taken hundreds of years ago. So, but just knock down the door and murder them, the whole family. So she was the only one that brought that to attention and made a free YouTube documentary because no news wanted to pull that, right? So, but yeah, most of these, they're cute, white, little young bitches that are conservative as fuck and say stupid shit like, I don't see color, shut up and dribble. Right. So it's one of those.
Yeah, well, she was the one that's told LeBron, shut up and dribble, don't use your voice and shit like that. Who, by the way, LeBron James, in my opinion, is probably one of the best human beings to walk the face of the earth. I think he's up there with Dave Chappelle.
No. I don't know. I don't watch basketball.
In that, you know what? He does so much for his community.